I did see some people talking about it, so I wanted to make sure to clear it up that we are not fully moving over to Rumble or anything like that. The schedule is and always will be from this point forward. YouTube videos coming out at the nighttime, YouTube for our live stream in the morning, and then we'll have the Power Hour stream towards the end of the day over on Rumble, which the link is down there in the description if you would like to join us there. Hey, if you're watching this and it's towards the end of the day, right, you're watching this a little bit late, well, you can maybe catch our live show over on Rumble. You can click that link down in the description to come join us if you do have a question for the day. Okay, just wanted to clear it up, right? We're not fully moving to Rumble or anything like that. Everything's still going to be on YouTube. We're just adding a closing stream on Rumble. Okay, now for the stock market for today, something we're seriously going to have to consider is, do we continue to squeeze, right? We showed how the 30-minute can behave very crazy when you are squeezing. And we notice that type of behavior being able to hold up really well, able to hold in this time up above the 20 on the 30 minutes. So maybe that's something we'll keep an eye on. But we'll notice it got extremely overbought readings for almost, what is this, from January 14th all the way over to January 24th. So it did have like 2 weeks. I would say roughly about 2 weeks of a 30-minute chart being overbought. So just be aware that can take place. Now, in this scenario, we do want to see if pullbacks will happen. We can gravitate to key levels in some way as we are seeing the weekly expected move here. This is where something very interesting I've been reading in the Psychology of Money book. Very, very interesting. Good stuff. I really, really like it. And a lot of what we talk about here actually lines up pretty perfectly with it. So we really like that. We enjoy that. I think it's a lot of fun. One thing was, now you're at a time where you're kind of saying, I want to see something crazy, right? You're saying, I want to be a part of a squeeze. But that would mean, hey, in some way, and this is how I'm thinking about it now that I've seen that portion of the book where they talk about luck and risk, and they're just unavoidable things. That would mean as you are approaching and wanting to catch something outside of these weekly expected moves, you are completely contradicting the technical risk, which is that when you get outside of this purple line, you have a 68% chance to close back within it. So that would mean I'm more so reaching for a time to get lucky. And is this a good time to potentially see a lucky moment? And I think that's a very interesting way to look at it when you're talking about a potential squeeze, because we still see that, I believe that, yeah, we could go through some turbulence, but I still believe at some point we're going to go test these areas up towards that 593, up towards this level of 585, right? We've been talking a lot about 585 and 590, 595. And even like if we really, really wanted to see a really strong move that most likely gets a pullback, well, then you're looking at more like 600 and things like that. So it is one of those times, and that's where you have to pay attention to your management of your money, right? You have to be paying attention to how much money do I want to risk to try to see something that's a lower percentage chance technically on this week? Do I have an argument for why this could be a time where getting lucky makes sense to try to bet on? And I think that's the case, right? Down here was a time where you took some risk, and if you held on to that, the risk never came and you were able to see that extension. You got some luck in there because you approached weekly expected moves multiple times during this run. So we'll see if that is the moment for now as well. But the risk is that we still have unfinished business down towards that 550, or at least this gap fill down here towards 563. So there is the risk that we could drop down. But if this is saying, hey, there's an argument to get more lucky, hey, maybe that means I have some decisions to make this week. I thought it was very, very interesting, though, to kind of phrase it that way. Like, luck and risk are two things that you just can't get around. You could go outside tomorrow and a bird could crap on your head, and you'd be like, man, I'm unlucky. But that was the risk of walking outside. So, I don't know. I feel like some people would start to understand that. And I've even thought about reading portions of that book because it actually talks about a lot of the things we talk about, which is very interesting. Right? It says to assume risk. Time is a very, very valuable thing. One thing I wanted to mention was volatility. Just a tiny little signal here. This can cause this really still looks very squeezy to me at the moment. This looks pretty squeezy to me at the moment. What to buy now? Whatever you want. Breakfast. Breakfast sounds pretty good. Go look over at the Qs for a brief moment here. Make sure those are up at towards the beginning of the stream so people can see it. Get those daily expected moves in red there. Once again, pullbacks can happen, but sometimes pullbacks kind of go up in a squeeze. So we'll see if we continue to squeeze here. The CPC yesterday, pretty bullish. So I would say pullbacks from here pretty likely. Breaking back below 485, though, seems less likely. Oh, well, okay. I mean, I think Tesla's going to 300. I said that like a week ago. I said, what, 50% in the next 2 months? It'll be up by 50% at some point. Good morning. You think NVIDIA will drop more? Well, let's go look at NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA's in an area where you could see some consolidation again, weirdly enough. And it always left back this gap. Something it could need, if it needs buyers, it could dip into this area. Notice that that area lines up with a bunch of bars, right? We see a bunch of stuff going on in there. Bunch of blocks, bunch of blocks, bunch of blocks, bunch of blocks. Okay, awesome. So what does that tell us? Well, if the 30-minute is able to find buyers there and curls back up in a positive territory, you might actually break through this resistance. Right? That's what it would tell us. It's holding up well. It's still holding its base. Its 2-hour even looks pretty good. You have a slight divergence here, so you're aware of the risk. The risk is that this 2-hour is going to cut this low. So if I cut this low, it's very likely I'm going to go fill this gap because you do have divergence here. You can even see this flash down like that, right? We can get that daily divergence we've been talking about over on the SPY. NVIDIA will be the culprit, I think, right? I think NVIDIA would be the culprit because it's holding up better than other stocks. And I think Tesla would potentially see a big drop there too, but I think Tesla's going to get a higher low almost no matter what. So for the time being, the 2 hours crossed up and saying positivity. The 2-hour hasn't crossed down yet, so I'd be watching the 30-minute this morning, and if it dips down and curls down and retests into these areas right here, I wouldn't be bearish just yet. If it started to cut through, I would say this price point right here, I would just give it a 114, 115, but I would say 115. You get a strong close below 115, that could be a big problem, and you might want to check the 2-hour chart because then it seems like you're in a scenario where luck isn't going to happen. You would need a lot of luck for it to happen. So risk would be the thing to pay attention to, and the risk is you go fill that gap down towards like 108.50. But if you really look at structure, it looks very good. Like this does not look bad structurally. This looks very good structurally. This could all be sideways, right? We fill the gap maybe today even, or we just start to turn up from here. So could be an interesting time for NVIDIA. Apple, I think, needs something big. Tesla, still seeing that upside. There you go. Tesla being a monster. Amazon still showing that positivity. I'm really liking that level up here of 210. We'll see if we can get there. Meta's another one. It's about to reach my level. My first level to pay attention is actually right now, 630. If we could break through that today, might leave the runners in case we can get to 660. That would be kind of insane, though. Very nice. Good morning! Yeah, Ignacio, hopefully that was a little bit helpful. So NVIDIA looks like it's kind of like, hey, it's in a risky point, but if it's going to squeeze, then it might just be a pullback on the 30-minute and turn right back up. GME pump and dump? Earnings. Usually GME is real bad with earnings. But it's a time where they could release news that if the news is good enough and the liquidity comes in that beats your short sellers, hey, you see a squeeze. If more money comes in buying than selling and it doesn't all get routed to dark pool, well, then you might see it now. If it gets all routed to dark pool, well, you might see it next week. Oh, sick, Terry. That'd be good. That would make sense why Apple's like holding up a little bit better. What's up, Rajiv? Good morning. Good morning, Ta. How's it going? John is in here. But yeah, with earnings, the main thing for me is just with AMC and GME, it's just, am I seeing a good signal and to put money behind? And I think GME has proven that it has strength here. It's really proving it has strength. It could dip back down to these 25s. It could dip all the way back down to 23.83. It could wipe out all of this with earnings, right? Earnings is a crazy time. But if they announce good news that makes more buyers show up than sellers. There you go. AMC, I think, even looks better, right? I think AMC's signals look better. I'm not saying it is better than GME. I just think the signals look better. You have a daily divergence. So, yeah. Look at DJT. DJT, very interesting stuff here, right? Remember DJT with the 2-hour divergence? Looked a little risky. Kind of looked bad, too. Didn't this look bad? But hey, guess what? You're waking up today a little bit lucky because the structure there is not like the best. But if you notice that the 2-hour curled up into positive territory right over here and you just go, okay, I'm willing to put my money behind it, well, look at that. You're up 8.5% today. Very nice. Perfect level to get to. I'd like that to extend further, show that big positivity right away, but this is an area where we could kind of fondle around and then see if we break through. Very nice, though. JP Morgan, remember this one? Real unlucky once. And look at this now. There's the luck, right? We came all the way back. Remember, 250 was the level I wanted to get to by the end of March, and we actually got there. Holy crap. Didn't go over Google. Yeah, let's go over Google real quick. We can take a peek at it. Sorry about that. I thought I had jury duty. Yeah, can we all say thank goodness no jury duty? Because I called late last night. I have to call like at nighttime, and then a recording tells me if I have to show up, and it was like nope. And I was like, oh my god, me and my wife hugged. I was like, thank God, I don't want to go make $7.25 an hour, and I just hate it the whole time. For some dude probably faking a neck injury, that's the only cases I've ever gotten jury duty for. Uh, anyway, so 30-minute here. We have to understand these things are overbought. Like all of these are, but are they doing good things? Are they keeping good behavior? Because this is a time where I think luck is something that can happen, right? I think getting a lower percentage move is possible here. Okay, this already is proven to taking people off guard. We're not making reversal signals or anything like that. And we have a very key level to get to up here, and that's 177 to 175, right? Right in these areas is very important to get to. Do we launch higher? Well, at the same time, if I have weekly expected moves, I need to understand risk is something to pay attention to. Maybe this is the point as we approach one expected move. I think about, hey, do I need to sell 1 or 2 contracts? Do I need to potentially make some kind of money out of the move just to mitigate some of the risk that can happen? If it continues to squeeze, say I have 10 contracts and right here I sell, I don't know, 4 of them, and then it starts to turn down, I can react and sell the rest of those, but still have a good profit at the high, right? Towards a risky level. Then if I can hold on to those and we don't see this give all this up, hey, then I can just hold on to those and maybe we see that surge to here and I go, okay, thank you. I got a little bit lucky there because it is a lower percentage thing. So you're looking for the time where the lower percentage thing is higher likely to happen. And that is one of these times right now. So you're in an interesting time because that's what squeezes are. They overall are something that is unexpected, but we kind of are expecting it here. So that's what we need to kind of read into. I do think something we need to read into is the fact that a lot of people who normally get things wrong are saying squeeze. So I'm going to be very aware if we end up towards like 585, we get up towards this level in here, or even right now, and just pay attention to the fact that we can always go make daily divergence. You can always go make a daily divergence. I think we have more time, but that doesn't mean that the market can't do what the market wants to do and risk is going to go away because I think that, right? If I think that and I don't react and I don't make my money, then I'm immediately assuming a little bit more risk as we get closer and closer to going through the weekly expected move. Really? Sick, Kyle. So I can just be like, hey, my family doesn't work. So I should phrase it like real emotional. I work for myself hard every day to put food on my family's table. If I don't do that, then there's potential for them not to eat. That's what I'll do. I've served enough jury duty. So very nice, still in that upward direction. Nothing to really go off of here. Just saying, interesting. Okay, great. Are we going to get to a daily upside move or a daily downside move? And that's where I'm going to pull up on my other screen. I'm going to read your guys' chat, make sure I'm reading your guys' chat and all that stuff. But Meta just gapped above a weekly expected move. I mean, that's a good sign, but it's looking a little wedgy, right? Looking a little risky. So that one I might take off at this point. That's my first sell point. So maybe in a way to mitigate some of the risk, I'm going to try to get lucky with Amazon because this is still a good moment to. And when people say get lucky, I feel like it has the wrong name behind it. It's just I'm trying to get the less probable thing for the week, right? It's still a probable thing for the month, but it's less probable for the week for us to continue squeezing past, say, 577. But because of our argument, we're saying that that might be a better chance this week. So I'm going to mitigate some of that risk with Meta, and I'm going to accept the fact that I'll keep the risk over with Amazon. Thank you for the idea, Kyle. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of things that have gapped above those expected moves, which is kind of cool to see. Except for like Microsoft. Microsoft's still struggling. Google's struggling to get above that move for now, just in the gap resistance. I don't know. Nothing's turned down yet, so I don't think there's really a reason to react, except for maybe, mitigating some risk by taking a little profit with Meta. I'm going to lose my mind. That's the crazy thing. It's potential, like Samson. I think there's potential there, but there's risk, right? We know for the week there's risk now with JP Morgan, but we know for the month, does our argument say that, and the way I'm phrasing it, I'm only phrasing it this way because I love the way the book explained luck and risk, but it's like now you're going for the less probable thing for the week. So do the signals you are seeing below what you're holding on to and everything you're seeing continue today, does that still make you want to say, I am going to bet on luck, even though risk is there? That's something so interesting to me. And that's a great way to phrase it because it is the less likely thing. So you would need a little bit of luck for it to technically happen. But if you have skills that can show you when that luck might pop up and you have the resolve to stay solvent and make sure that you're doing things at the right time, technically you could put yourself in those situations, and that's what we do with the monthly expected move. We put ourselves in situations where we can catch that moment where people are taken off guard, where the more lucky thing is actually the more likely thing. That's super interesting to me. VIX right now, the one thing is there's a tiny little divergence here, like we could get a 2-hour move, so just be aware of it. Down by our 1683, very, very nice. Pretty much came all the way down to this wick. Very interesting. But 1683, that area is something that I pay attention to. Is there divergence on your RSI? No, there is not. No, there is not. So if you do get this to turn up and we see a pullback here, we can see something like this take place. All right, we can see something like that take place. And that's something I would be more worried about. That's where the daily starts to drop, and that's going to be a big problem. So we'll be watching out for it. As of right now, we do not see the same signals at the same time. I like to see them at the same time, so this means we could have more time here to go higher, weirdly enough. So I'm going to hold on to that Amazon, see what happens, right? If things curl down and my plan goes wrong, hey, I'll be reacting. You think the VIX can fill the gap below? I think it will, but it's just, do we get a reaction right now? This has been going down for a while. Usually you see those type of reactions soon where you get like, it could be very minor, right? It could be very slow and sluggish and then just go like this at the end of the day. It could pick up at the end of the day to go fill this gap. We could shoot down and fill that gap. There's tons of things that now that you're at the weekly expected upside move, the risk of downside moves is a lot heavier, right? Our whole thing was by the end of the month, it's going to get back into this yellow line. Guess what? It's almost the end of the month and we got back into that yellow line. The question is, are we actually going to close in there? Right? So for volatility, I think this will keep dropping down, and that's just because we've seen a couple closings here. Like if I put up a 50, you'll see the closing yesterday. You'll see the closing yesterday below the 50. Very, very nice, right? That's a good sign. Where do you expect a reaction to maybe retest that 5? Well, maybe the 200. And that's an area where we get that reaction. But if it fades off, you might continue this downward move in volatility till lower prices. So we're seeing if a bigger reaction comes to create some kind of 2-hour divergence here. That's what I'll be watching for. And I'll be looking for that probably towards 1504, which would maybe even take you down to that 1470. That would be very interesting. So we'll see. Very nice, though. Don't mind it. SPY, you see how it would get to its 50, right? The 50 is right in that area now. 590. I still like 585. I think 585 is a great trap level, too. I don't know about any Trump news right now. Probably going to talk about tariffs and stuff like that at some point. This is just the daily, can it curl up into positive territory? And this is why these type of looks are why I still am okay with looking for a little bit more luck than paying attention to risk. I will potentially like hedge things, but you can see how I really want to stay on the move. Great stuff right now. You got the confirmation yesterday. I think as of right now, it looks like you filled that previous gap already and you're ready for it. So if this can show positivity, that's good. The 2-hour was already signaling like, hey, this is crossed up. You have big divergence here. So Rumble is suggesting upside should be the play. But earnings, right? Earnings is there. So anything can really happen with earnings. But as of right now, not the best read as far as earnings goes. Okay, so we'll see what happens with it. But if they said something about user growth or something like that, that's more the stuff that people care about in the stages that Rumble is at. They care about, are they getting new users? Are their users per day increasing? What's their pull, right? How long are people spending on Rumble? And I think that's a thing too. Time is a big measurement for these. So we'll see. But I would read into more of those things in it and then be like, is it at a comfortable level? Okay, awesome. Is this risk of dropping down? Yes, but is there potential for this to see an upside move? The signals suggest that there is potential for an upside move, possibly to 1050, I would say. I would say first you got to get to that $10 mark. Yeah, we have some little bits of data and things like that. We do. Bitcoin's still showing some weakness here, still showing not the best buying. So this is where we want to see something big, potentially to take you above that 94. These levels here, I want to get above that. I would love to get above 98.3, but ultimately, if we're holding 91.85K right over here, this white line, I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, I think Rumble has some stuff to figure out because they're kind of being like a mixture of Twitch and YouTube. So I'd agree that the user platform isn't like, I think the algorithm maybe isn't the best. Like, right, it's pushing certain things and it's more so pushing live video. So I think that's the big difference with YouTube. It pushes live video more, is what I noticed. It's more about live video right now for Rumble, is what I noticed. Tesla, as of now, is at the risky area, right? Tesla is the one that we were like, this thing is really seeing something crazy. This is the one that the risk is starting to be like, okay, Tesla's the one that might need to take profit at some point, right? Leave the runners, move the stop up. I think we even said that in the video last night. So hopefully you guys are watching those videos at night, right? Not just waiting for me to talk about it in the morning so you can decide what you'll do. Make sure you have a plan and you shouldn't be doing things based off of, hey, just this, see what's best for you, right? If I have 2 months out on Tesla and I like this, I like the price I got for the option, I can just sit and say, hey, this most likely will head like all the way up to at least probably, 304, if not 357.78 at the end of all of it, but it's got to get through that 325. So really let's move this down. Technically right here should be where we're looking, right around that 328.50. I'm going to put it on 328.50. Let's see if my 50% was still, well, I guess take from the low. 49.9, shit. Dang it. Are there bots? Can we check out GLD? I'm looking for the short entry. Yes, seeing red stuff. Ew. Yeah, so 30-minute pullbacks are very likely here, and Tesla's moving aggressively. GLD, nice upside move, right? Good upside move. This still has time to go make that 2-hour. Look at the 2-hour. Still there. Still time for this thing to go wrong. Now, the daily scale, has that even confirmed down yet? No. I think it's coming. I really do. I think it's coming. It doesn't mean you can't do this, and then do this, and then do this the next week, right? But more so, does this have a signal right now? Hey, it had the 30-minute, but we know that it can extend on the 2-hour. Look at that 2-hour go like this, and then watch out, right? If something like that shows its face, because that signal says, I like to turn down daily charts, right? For the time being, if the 30-minute can fail this move, you'd be like, okay. But right now, it really looks like, hey, we at least maybe want to fill this gap, look for that 2-hour to make a move, see if it curls back down for a double top. That looks like the most likely thing for GLD. It doesn't have to land in those monthly expected moves, by the way. That's why you want time, right? And the monthly doesn't even end until next Monday. Does your contract on GLD, did you take that into consideration? Did you know the monthly does not end, the month doesn't end, the monthly bar won't end on the SPY and the QQQs until Monday, right? Once we take that into consideration, we go, oh, wait a second. Wait a second. So you're telling me I thought it had to come down by right here just in a couple of days, but technically it's one day over. Did we take that into consideration with our plan, right? And it can close right outside of it. That is not crazy to do by any means. 30-minute, I would enjoy a retest of 570. That sounds nice. TDD. Let me look over here real quickly. Yeah, Google's not looking the happiest. Much better quarter repositioning this week with buy. CTA trigger looks like it's 58.50. 58.50. Yeah, we'll see if we can get there. I still think 5,900 is super important, but 58.50, okay, 585 pretty much is what I was really watching. I still want to see if we leave all this unfinished business behind. Seeing a lot of bearish wedges on shorter time frames. Exactly. That's why I'm really paying attention to my stuff right now. And understanding that we're not through the key area yet where we could potentially just see buying and buying and buying, right? I think you got to get above like 585 to really say like, yeah, okay, now pullbacks. I think pullbacks are a good thing here, but they can be rigorous. They can be big. I think up in these type of areas, if you get above 585, I think that's the area where more so you're just going to see that little sideways, that gradual leak higher. So right now I'm aware that I think this is still possible. And so I'm going to watch that very closely here. Because I'm looking at this, I'm going, okay, Amazon's seeing a crazy thing. NVIDIA's starting to see that resistance come in a little bit. AMD seeing some come in a little bit. Meta in a risky spot now. So that one was sold off. That one's already sold. Okay, cool. Google seeing little 5-minute divergence probably in here. Microsoft not showing it, but really showing probably 5-minute divergence there. 30 minutes really look like they want to fake people out here. But the risk is I could take that opportunity cost. I could sell everything. And then if this goes up, I have to slap my knee and be like, dang it. But I have to appreciate that I'm so positive right now, right? That's why that decision isn't like the worst thing in the world for me to make. So there are risks of turning down, and I think this would be the area to get more aggressive pullbacks until we're able to break above 585. Bearish wedges. I think for this, you would just be like, okay, I mean, if that 5-minute turns down, it's not necessarily a good thing. 15-minute hasn't even curled up though. So, unless this is a rejection divergence, it's like, this makes a lot of sense before we see that. So we'll see. Yeah, it makes a little bit of sense just to see that gradual run up and then see that come off. It is Tuesday. It's early on in the week, right? Squeezes like to end the week, like Thursday, Friday outside. Usually you don't see it just squeeze for 3 days outside of those moves. Usually it's only one or two. Amazon with a nice break to the upside here. Very nice. Very nice. Man, is that 30-minute going to be enough to get volatility going? That's the question. This little one right here was more significant, way more significant. This one here was more significant, way more significant, and easier to see. This is a rejection one. So you're looking for maybe a 2-hour move here. It could potentially get back up to maybe 1950 would make a lot of sense. So this is an area where pullbacks can happen. I'm going to go look at some... Now, am I thinking about playing any kind of downfall? Not necessarily. Thinking about hedging and things like that too. Looking at that option as well, but I might like the whole take profit, look for pullback. I might risk the opportunity cost for a moment here. Oh shoot, what the heck was I doing? Oh yeah, this right here. I wanted to reload. 565. 565, weirdly enough, there's a huge amount of open interest there on the put side. And looks like 570 and 582 for Wednesday. I just want to look at Friday, though. Friday, big call levels. Your put wall at, say, 560. So I think 550 is kind of not on the table. We'll see, at least for this week. But I do think this 560 level is on the table for a tag. Interesting. Short Fridays, what level in the United Nike final bottom do you think? Okay, looking for the low level on Nike. Or like potential area for scaling, I guess, right? A comfortable area. Well, we're in a buy zone. Like I said, I like this zone. I'm still thinking that you need to see this to really be like, oh, I want to take maybe a medium term like option play, right? We notice divergence is what causes big moves. Divergence is what causes big moves. A higher low causes a big move, right? Sometimes that divergence on the 2-hour doesn't work out, but it does see a good move and then rejects. So you got to be ready to react. But right now, buy zone, if I'm looking at this from even probably a monthly scale, it's turned down, down, down forever. Okay. They're probably going to run into problems with tariffs and things like that, but you're in an area where you like to buy up from and you're on a monthly 200. So a decision here would be, the risk to reward type of decision, Do you think Nike's going to fall down into lower levels such as $50, $49.90? Do you think this is bad enough to go all the way back down to potentially where we were before the housing crisis? Do you think this is really serious? Or do you think this is probably something that's going down, down, down for a long time? And then you look at a weekly chart and you go, okay, what's this look like? Oh, I have multiple points of divergence on the weekly chart right in here. Okay, so now this decision is starting to look like, hey, downside, yeah, it might be going down for a while, but Nike looks like a weekly cross up could happen, and this might be a potentially good investment. You got to build that case for yourself, look at the numbers, look at what the company's going to go through, and then go from there. And then look if technicals can prove a reason to buy, and then find that reason. And then that's what I like to do. I like to accumulate all that information, find that trigger for when I'm going to make a decision. Maybe that's if I see a daily divergence here or something like that. Maybe it's if we're able to cleanly take back $74, right? Maybe it's just I like Nike and therefore I buy Nike. I wear Nike shoes. I like Nike. Nike's cheap right now, so I buy Nike, right? There's tons of reasons to do this. You have to figure out your reasons because it's your money, I appreciate the donation, and we're in the zone, and we see weekly divergence, and a monthly chart's way, way down there. So that would suggest you're getting a huge discount, right? Up here, you were probably like, right? When it was up here, did you say the phrase, man, I wish I bought Nike on that wick during COVID. You know, there was risk to buying right there, but there was also a way to potentially get lucky. And guess what? You're in that same area right now. Isn't that crazy? So you're like, in 2021, were you like, man, I wish I bought this at the COVID low? Because, hey, guess what? You're at the COVID low. So if you said that phrase, you might want to take a look at it. Got to make your own decision. I think the environment we're in, a little bit scary, right? Sometimes the scary times are when people buy stuff, right? That's when the risk is high, at least seems really high, but the risk of being lucky might be a little bit better. Bill Ackman has more than $1 billion invested in Nike now at an average of $90 and it missed again. I'm thinking about going all in on Nike now and holding it for a year to go up 40%. I think it's kind of like this too. Here's the thing, Short Fridays, that I'm learning a lot from that book and learning a lot about Warren Buffett and learning a lot about my behavior and how actually some of it's good and some of it's bad, but some of it's good. And that's longevity and things like that. So it talked about Warren Buffett and said, so what do you think? What do you think made Warren Buffett rich? Do you think it was his picks? Do you think it was this? Or do you think it was that? He held all the time through 33 recessions or something like that. It was time. Time was his asset. He stayed in the game and just held through risk and caught the lucky moments because he was willing to hold through the risk. And I thought that was very, very cool. So one thing I would say, Short Fridays, is you said a year for 40%. What if in a year it's only up 20%? What are you going to do? That's still a good gain. Were you planning, it was the whole point to sell it fast? Are you seeing things that look risky that are updating you to say, hey, I know I said 40%, but there's a lot of risk here? That's the difference. In my mind now, it's like, with those type of things, it's kind of like, if I can buy myself more time to reach the goal, if I can hold through risky times, then I'm more likely to experience the luck. What fun is it to hold a stock for 40 years? Exactly. That's why people don't do it. You know? But if I was holding the stock for 40 years, it better have a dividend. I like it, Short Fridays, and yeah, you're doing that. I'm just letting you know, keeping that time frame, and also, and the other thing is, it's not a bad thing to say, like, okay, what if it's not? What if it's not up 40% in a year? What if it's up 80% a year? You know? What if it's up 80% a year? What if it's up 200% in 3 months? That's where things start to change, right? That's where I think at all times, knowing where you're in a time where you could experience more luck versus a time where you could experience more risk is a big deal. I think you're in a time right now where if you're looking for an upside move, yeah, we could see little moves in between, but that's why I keep saying in the next 2 months, we're going to see this thing above probably 585, probably making new all-time highs at this point. We'll see. We're building a ton of liquidity here and we're holding up pretty well. So it goes, hey, do I want to say, it's kind of like the Warren Buffett thing. Do I care about the in between or do I just care that in 2 months we're above, say, 585? Pretty interesting. You think Nike does have a fairly good dividend? As long as it always pays out. I mean, the thing with them is I think tariffs would hit them decently hard. All the China stuff probably hit them hard. We'll see. We got some little guys starting to roll here. Volatility trying to do its thing. Let's look at VIX 9-day because that one was holding up better. There you go. It's filled its gap. VIX 9-day does have a bunch of divergence here. So this is where the risk is high that we could get a pullback, and the environment we're in is still very volatile. Still volatile, right? Still above about 1683, so still paying attention to the fact that pullbacks can be aggressive. Pullbacks can be like this, but pullbacks can be all the way down like this, and then we turn up. If they say consumer sentiment is up, I'll call BS. So my thinking with this, what I'm trying to get through my skull here is like, if we're going to see that mean pullback and we fill this gap, I can literally get that for another entry price down at the gap fill, right? I'm looking for another fake out, but I think it has to happen like soon. This could all happen on Friday, right? We could do this on Friday. It wouldn't be a big deal as long as you end like that on Monday. That'd be very nice. Good morning, Blind Owl. How you doing? So Buffett doesn't use stops, pretty much. So the crazy thing I read was once he made 99% of his money after the age of 60. He held through all that stuff and it didn't even come close. If he would have stopped when he was 60, he would have had $11 million. I think it was 60 or 50. I'm pretty sure it's 60. If he would have stopped when he was 60, he would have stopped with $11 million. Think about that for a second. How crazy is that? But he put him in a spot where he could just sit there. He used time. Time was his best asset. I think it's super interesting. It's very, very cool. Then they talk about the Ice Age and stuff. It's a very interesting book. I actually really enjoyed it more than I thought. It's very nice. Hey, you'd think that. So technically, Warren Buffett is not the best trader of all time. He doesn't have the best percentage. He doesn't have the best year-to-year percentage. Psychology of Money, very, very good. The way they do it is they show a bunch of examples, and it's nice. It talks about a guy that made $3 billion in one day, and he ended up losing all of it. It's very interesting. Best percentage is Peter Lynch. Is Peter Lynch the one with 66% per year consistently since the 1980s? Is that Peter Lynch? Yeah. So the book actually talks about Peter Lynch, and it puts him with those returns in Warren Buffett's scenario. He would be the first quadrillionaire or pentillionaire with those type of returns with the amount of time that Warren Buffett has had. But the difference is Warren Buffett got lucky early on by just figuring out, hey, I add in over time pretty much. And then the other guy wasn't really a successful trader. Peter Lynch really didn't have those type of percentages until he was over 50 years old. Whereas Warren Buffett started when he was like, 16? I think he bought his first things. So it's very cool. Okay, now we're paying attention to the SPY. Remember, a 30-minute pullback is possible. I'm keeping my eye on some of these stocks. They're making that second upward move, right? The second upward move. Even though it's something like this, always look for that second upward move as potential for something to happen, right? We notice what? Hey, not the first one, right? First move, second move. You always watch out for the second move. Meta, the first one, second move on this overall push, right? Microsoft, again, second move, really starting to fail out here. So we'll see. But as of right now, I think a 30-minute pullback would be great for the market. As of right now, thinking about taking off that profit, already did with Meta, thinking about doing that, and then going, okay, let me see if I can buy this a little bit lower. Let's go, Ta. I have faith. I mean, the thing is, it shows that there are multiple ways to do it. But in certain ways, luck will be involved, which is very, very cool to understand. And if you understand that you could walk outside and get hit by a car tomorrow, then you understand that you could walk outside and find a $100 bill on the ground. And that's kind of what the discussion, those type of scenarios are what's popping in my head for discussion. At any time, at any moment, you could get lucky or unlucky. I got jury duty, super unlucky, awful. I call jury duty. I don't have to go. And I was group B. I was the second group. They found everything they needed in the first group, and I didn't want to go. I'd say that's pretty lucky. Usually they go all the way to group C. At least. So are things going to pull back? Things are very likely in these areas to start to get pullbacks. The way that Tesla is behaving, the lightness The lowness in the weekly expected move was always a worrisome sign for NVIDIA. It's just, are we pulling back to fill a gap, or are we pulling back down to lower levels? Is this going to be a move down to the weekly expected move? Are we going to see a big spike down here to flush everyone out, get them real bearish? Or, which is still possible, we can V-shape after doing so, right? Doing that all in one day makes some sense, right? As of right now, the more probable thing is you will see something like this, maybe something like Luster. You will see this maybe pull down to lower levels, but you will not see it mainly close really below 570. That is the most probable thing as of right now, is to see that upside move after a 30-minute pullback according to your MACD, according to your RSI, according to the price action. That's what seems like the most likely thing at this moment. We have now, in some way, created, I would say maybe on the 2-hour chart, you would go a low, maybe some equal highs, a new low, a new high. So it's perfectly fine for us to do things like this, all right? We need to understand that 30-minute is positive. Bad things are possible. That would be very unlucky because it's unexpected. Market going down on GME earnings. Told you, man, GME earnings is always a funky time. Is GME that bad? It says 30-minute pullback right now. Crazy things can happen with earnings. AMC, what's it saying? It's saying if I turn on the 30-minute, I can turn on the 2-hour. If I turn on the 2-hour and go negative, hey, the daily might even cross down again. I think we're going to see, I really am leaning towards some kind of fireworks here. Something's going to happen. I got this weird feeling. It's just a weird feeling. There's nothing to go off of, and I think it would be really funny, and I will laugh and love it if something were at least crazy. Even if it sends the stock down, I think you're going to get something today. I really do. I think you're going to get something, and it could be good, it could be bad. That's the thing, but it's going to be either really lucky or really risky. That's how it's going to work, man, with earnings. It's 50-50 on that one. The risk and the reward are 50-50. The reward could be replaced with luck. The risk and the luck is 50-50. That's a good way to put it, especially for earnings. Why only a 30-minute pullback and not a 2-hour pullback? Because the 2-hour is not even close to overbought. The 2-hour is not even close. If the 2-hour crossed, I'd be more worried about cutting this low. If the 2-hour crossed down, and actually went negative, two things there. If we actually started to do that, you're probably chopping that low, and then you can go down to this gap. So do you see how that would be worse? So I want the 30-minute to turn around like right here. If we turn around right here, there's no real risk of going to that downside move. Right? If we curl down on the 30-minute and curl back up, then the 2-hour is not going to cross up. So our job is to really look for, hey, is that 30-minute going negative? Are we seeing this thing turn around? Is it breaking that low? Okay, we're heading to 550. All right, are we turning back around? Do we see daily divergence, right? That's what we're thinking the whole time. But if it goes, oh, yeah, we're going down, this is going to be really bad, and then we just turn and U-turn and see that 30-minute curl up as it's in a positive trend, that could be the moment we actually see a breakthrough of the weekly expected move. And guess what? That would happen on potentially Friday going into Monday. When have the big moves happened? Mondays, right? Friday, Monday, Thursday, Friday, all the way up to Monday, and big volatility. Okay, Monday, Friday, Monday, big gap up. So if we do this, we do this, we do this, by the end of the week, you might start seeing some big things to the upside. We'll see. As of right now, squeeze potential is very high. People are not trying to overly short the move, though, so that's something we're aware of. CLF. Yeah, Remy, it's just the first thing to pay attention to would be the 30-minute. If I sit there and stare at a 2-hour, I might not see what's going on in the 30-minute. That's all. It's just taking it time frame by time frame. And since the 30-minute has the first thing we're paying attention to, if the lower time frame has the first thing to pay attention to, then you pay attention to that. You know? Let's go look at this real quick. CLF. Cleveland Cliffs. Good stuff. I mean, 30-minute just looks like trying to make that equal low. Actually, weirdly enough, this is double bottom divergence. I know it's hard to see, but it's there. The divergence is there. You see the closing bar and you see the closing bar of the red. Both of them are at the same point. Awesome. Bam. Huge upside for the 30-minute. Awesome. Bam. Huge upside for and holding every divergence point with this level right here on the RSI. So this looks like some kind of 2-hour cross up can happen. What's the 2-hour look like? Hey, it's a little bit closer to the center line this time, and we already made a base down here. So is this all some kind of big liquidity move to actually scoop back up, see something crazy, or, do something like this? And you're building a lot of liquidity here. That's why I'm talking about something crazy. If that 2-hour crosses up, is it just going to build up to this level, get that small 30-minute handle, and turn to the upside? This looks very, very good for the time being. The daily even has forms of divergence across, very nice. We have forms of divergence at the low, very nice. So if you're able to curl up here with that boom, boom, boom kind of move, that would suggest potential positivity because the daily has divergence. That would mean that you could potentially see weeks of positivity here. You do see weekly divergence at the low as well. So CLF, this is one that you would be going, okay, this looks like an investment that I could get real lucky. All right, the luck to risk in this scenario or the reward to risk in this scenario do look good. Yeah, you have a decision to make, and it looks like, weeklies, if I see a good investment weekly, usually I say it's like 6 to 12 months. If you see a monthly curl up because of all these signals, though, right, the monthly gets going, hey, man, that could be a full year to like potentially, if it just holds well, you don't see reversal signals, this could be a good investment for a while, right? If that monthly is able to curl up, I mean, I'd be watching out for these type of levels at 22.76, but that could take 12 months to get there. Investment wise, this is one that potentially has the signals for it, where you could start to see upside. It can fail, right? There's always a chance to get unlucky. That's why we're like, hey, pay attention to how the market could screw you. So we talk about in our course, right? Talk about we added that to the bottom for a reason. The market likes to screw people. Yeah, everything's remaining steady. More squeeze-like behavior at this moment. Amazon did see a slight move down. Nothing to be too worried about at this moment, it seems. But it did make finally a 15-minute signal here suggesting a 30-minute pullback can take place. So we're starting to see the first inclinations that a pullback can happen. The crazier thing to happen would be squeeze, right? The luckier thing to happen if I was in calls is squeeze, right? But right now I'm running into that decision time. Do I want to assume the risk? Would I like to assume the opportunity for a pullback here, right? Am I going to miss out on opportunity cost? That's the scenario I'm in my head. Might have to look at the end of the day or midday to see what's going to go on. So make sure you join our live stream over on Rumble later. The link's down there in the description if you want to join us over there. We do the Power Hour stream at the end of the day over on Rumble. Link's in the description. Yeah, shoot up to that move, get up to there, and then we'll see what happens. VIX, the main thing is, do we curl up a 2-hour chart? And note that this is very likely to fail. I wonder if this guy will turn up before. VIX 9-day really looks like it wants to turn around. It's really flattened out. 21, how it builds back, 23.85. Now you don't want to run up like yesterday. I'd kind of agree with you. I think during market hours, that's sketchy. You didn't see a big gap up or anything like that to not let retail be involved. So if we see some upside here, I think it's more risky than yesterday, but we'll see. You're still showing squeeze-like behavior. Yeah, it could literally, like he's like yeah, like Steve-O saying, it could literally just chill and go sideways for a bit of time, see any kind of volume spike at the end of the day, and then gap up or gap down. Oh my goodness. I think they want to do a bearish move right before the big move. I'm still watching 585 to 595 for resistance for the daily cross down. 2 days feels right for entry. Yeah, I mean, as of right now, you would say still being in it, not a bad thing. Maybe we squeezed to 7,000 today. Oh, goodness. I woke up in such a weird state because all day yesterday I thought, like, I have to go to jury duty. No, I don't. I'm so happy. So happy. Abu's going to come over. It's going to be a good time. Let me reload real quick. Yeah, it looks like consumer confidence is down. The other one was adjusted back up, though. I think that's what people are slightly reading into. It was adjusted to 100.1, the previous. But new home sales month over month, readjusting to the previous adjusting to negative 0.6 or 6.9. But home price, the Case-Shiller home price was up, so it's right in that range they were looking at. So kind of expected, but the drop in consumer confidence is something to pay attention to, but people might ignore that just because they saw, oh, the previous adjusted, right? How can they convince themselves it's a good thing? Yeah, well, if they're shouting out 7,000 right now, I'd really be aware of another drop first to really, because what's going to happen is they only know how to, a lot of people on YouTube only know how to make videos based on like what's happening or already happened, right? We're always trying to read one step into the future, right? See the next move. What's the risk going forward? This and that, right? None of them, I can tell you that none of the people I was looking at who I don't trust, right? None of them were saying, oh, yeah, we're going to see a rip here. None of them were saying, oh, yeah, we're going to see a rip here. They all were saying, we're going to do this. And then we're going to crash 10 more percent once we get past that level. That's what a lot of those people I don't trust were saying. But guess what? Once they saw the gap up yesterday, they quickly, I even think they deleted videos and then they made videos that said, oh, yeah, this is what's going to catch everyone off guard. It already caught everyone off guard, but their video is the market's going to catch everyone off guard, meaning that now they think this is going to happen or something, right? They're just telling you what already happened. We've been leaning towards squeeze for here. We're aware of the risk of down, but there was a reason during this down I was still holding and accumulating a little bit more, right? We saw it and we assumed the risk. They were taking the easy thing, which is I saw a gap down, so that gap down is going to continue, right? That's the easy thing to say. I even think we could go to 550 again. Those people will make those same videos. We could chop 550, and I think that we would still end up bullish at the end of all of it. But do I have the time, right? I'm always thinking Warren Buffett now. Time. Do my options have the time to last through that? Will they hold value through that? Right? Time becomes way more important with options. If I'm just buying the dip in some way, hey, okay. You know? That'd be a great base at 550, but it's just I don't see us getting there this week. That's the crazy part. I more so see us getting there like next week if that would happen, but I just think that we're more likely to see a big upward move and some kind of pullback. I think around 585 to 595 in that area, we're going to find that top, and then we're going to pull back, and people will say this is the tipping point, and then we're just going to curl right back up. And I think the daily could even cross to make that happen. I think we'll get a higher low. That's what I see right now, but we have to see how this week behaves. Can I tell gold to come down? Let it make the 2-hour divergence, right? And this could fail, right? It's still negative on the 30-minute, but let it make the 2-hour divergence, and then it's very likely. I think it's still likely right now. It can be wrong. You know that, right? You have the plan for if it goes wrong. Drink some water or something. Have a water. My wife and my mother-in-law are making me take these damn pills. They say I work too much. I need to eat better. I'd have to agree. Just like vitamin D, magnesium, all the stuff, zinc, all that good stuff. Oh, but gosh, those pills are a little big. I should probably look in that because sometimes your body can't take in nutrients at the same time. Like it's two different nutrients. So I should really look at that bottle, but I just trust her. She's been into that stuff forever. AVGO? AVGO is super interesting to me. I mean, this one hasn't even seen the move yet. Crazy, but this thing could end up back at 227. And this all could be flagging to head lower though at the moment. Remember that 165.89, but I think I think this ends up happening eventually. 30-minute pullback now. Come on. Do it by end of day. Do it end of day, get people bearish into tomorrow, and then see those buyers step back in. That'd be nice. Maybe AP, it could. I mean, I'm not really reading into that. I'm more reading into the risk to reward right now. The risk to reward is starting to get a little bit higher, which would tell me as we approach these purple and red lines up here that it starts to become a little bit more risky. Don't really want to read into how GME, if GME affects the market, GME affects the market, right? If it's really going to see something absolutely crazy, then we probably see the market go down and GME go up, right? That would be the correlation there. In the past, when the big moment happened, I believe they squeezed together actually for a few days, and then the SPY turned down and GME didn't turn down. I think that's how it mainly took place. Yeah, do I want to offload? Do I want to do the opportunity cost thing? I think I'll do it with most. I think we'll take most off of Amazon here. See that 30 minutes because I think it's very unlikely to just continue to squeeze for 3 days outside of this expected move. I think that's a little much. That's a little too much luck. I think that rebuilding here and then squeezing into next week towards the end of the week would make a lot more sense to at least risk my money behind. So profit taking. I will take my 120% and walk away. Whatever. Filled that. Squeezes happen on a light volume, but that being said, you can read into that. I'd more so just pay attention to risk to reward and be, just like I'm talking out loud with what's going on in my mind, right? You just heard. I want to potentially take the opportunity cost risk versus risking losing a good trade. And this is a gray area where if we look at this, if this would squeeze tomorrow, well, then that would say, oh, that's just going to continue and continue and continue. Or are we not gapping up or anything like that? So are we just going to run our head into something and then pull back, get people nice and bearish on Wednesday, and then start that turnaround towards the end of the day, see some good news on Thursday? And then Thursday, Friday, very comfortable with them landing outside of the move then. Oh, wait, you asked about, yeah, we can look at this real quick. Yeah, see, that's divergence. So this can be a 2-hour. This more so can be a 2-hour pullback. Where would it pull back to? This one's kind of rough because the 30 minutes suggesting this could potentially go negative. So I think you're looking for the first solid 2-hour real high or low. I mean, these are great and all, but I think you're looking for that moment where this turns down, maybe goes to that breakout area right here around 64.50. Maybe it just fills the gap, but you're looking for that moment where it says, yes, I am a higher low. And that would be a good thing. You'd really see how we'd be using some great structure to actually head to the upside, cross through this. Hey, maybe you gap above this and you end up going all the way to 75. That would be the best level to get to for this would be 2-hour pullback, and then you see the 2-hour swing up, and then it just gets to 75. That would be great. Things can go wrong, but that would be really nice for the behavior of this stock. XLF at JP Morgan. What's JP Morgan look like on the 30-minute now? Yeah, see, JP Morgan's been in that overbought areas for a while. Like it's had 2 touches. It actually has some reasons here. Hey, it could see resistance at 250. We see resistance come in for a moment, and then it just curls back up, maybe going on into Friday. Right, this way, it's not going to just squeeze outside of a weekly expected move and just get to 263 and see squeeze, squeeze, right? This into that makes a lot more sense than just that right now. So it's looking good though. Nothing is going wrong, right? I'm just talking about the risks here of a pullback as the 2 hours actually overbought for JP Morgan. It's a different story than a lot of other stocks. Do I think the 2-hour is going to curl here? I think potentially no. I think this could just keep continuing for a while. But I think a 30-minute pullback would be very nice for the stock. And I think that's the risk right now. So if JP Morgan is going to pull back, if Meta's seeing something crazy a little early in the week, if Tesla is seeing something crazy early in the week, wouldn't pullback risk be getting higher and higher and higher? JP Morgan's already squeezed, right? We need to squeeze more, right? But that doesn't mean it can't see a pullback here as things get overbought and things like that. Might mean leaving runners, right? Trying to catch that luck, right? That's fine, but it's just lower probability for the week now. You're probable to get where you're at for the month, but you could see a pullback now and then curl up and then still be in that monthly expected move by the end of the month. No. Rich is like, I'm going with the luck. And that's all right. People who made the craziest money you've ever seen or made the craziest moves and they can't even explain why a lot of the time. Talked about the guy who made $3 billion in one day during the in the Great Depression when that started. Black Monday, Black Tuesday. He made $3 billion in like 24 hours. Why? Because on a whim, he got nervous one day and bought some short positions, just a little, like some short positions the week before. And then he woke up on Monday with $3 billion while everyone else lost billions of dollars, billions of dollars, billions of dollars. He woke up and had the single best trade. He just made a weird decision at the right time, and he got lucky. Made an uncommon decision at the right time. Maybe it would be more common now. I don't know. My puts are just holding. Usually that happens right before a move. Yeah, I think you still have that 2-hour move that can happen for the VIX. We'll see. The way you really shake things up is you drop things in on Monday, end in a monthly expected move, and then you go down next week. But I don't know. I think we might just leave that 550 behind. If we get a pullback here, that's potentially what I'll be betting on at least. People are eager to get calls right now. Calls, calls, calls. While volatility has a 30-minute signal, while the SPY's in an area where the risk gets bigger to the downside, while Tesla, while Meta, while Amazon, while JP Morgan, while all these stocks are suggesting there is downside risk, but we'll see. You can always see something crazy. I'm going to go with opportunity cost on this one. Just in case we see something ugly to 550, I'm going to opportunity cost it for a moment here. It's fine with me. 580. Samson. Yeah. And I think some people will start to realize, like, is the buying really that strong? Right? In order to squeeze, you got to violate these things. That's what happens. You'll draw these lines up, and then you'll be like, okay, well, how do I know if we're squeezing? Hey, usually you start to see gap ups into these type of areas, and you just keep going. You don't come back. So the fact that it's in this, and both the weekly and the daily are within this, it's like, ooh, we could just do this for a moment and then turn down towards the end of the day. Yes, Tyler, there is data. If you would like to get that website, all you need to do is no, we can't put it in the chat, but the economic calendar, if you just look up tradingeconomics.com and go to the calendar, it's very good. Throughout the week, tomorrow you have durable goods at 7:30 a.m. Thursday, you'll get the GDP growth rate at 7:30 a.m. So an hour, sorry, I'm not thinking my time zone, but an hour before the open. And then on Friday, you'll get I'm mainly paying attention to personal income, personal spending. I think personal spending was a big highlight there on Friday, an hour before the open. So you still have data to get through, and that's what I'm talking about. That saved us last week. Understanding there is important data to get through. That data, yeah, we can be at higher levels. It can end up being good, and we can get a good reaction. But we got some weird stuff going on this week. GME earnings always seems to be a little strange and things like that. So I think there are risks that we could see an early pullback here. And then once we actually start to see good data, we can see that big upward move. But we saw some okay data last week. So I am choosing as my own decision to make a risk to reward decision. I'm going to take my profits, make a good profit from a trade, and I am going to potentially sit here and not necessarily even short the downfall, but just see what happens next. If we start to turn down on a 30-minute and we curl down and fill this gap, and then we curl back up, I'll potentially be buying back into those positions. But I think we have a decent amount of time throughout the day for all of this to take place, right? We're not even at a daily expected move yet. We could go all the way up. Maybe around lunchtime, we start to tag like 579. We'll see. That'd be perfect timing. What was the name of the Warren? It's not a Warren Buffett book. It's just The Psychology of Money. It costs you like $15. It's a great read. It'll start to a lot of the things you actually hear in the book, you probably heard here, which is very cool. When we talk about risk to reward, he talks about luck versus risk. That's, yeah, kind of the scenario there. And he talks about a lot of different things that just make you think about money a lot differently. But I'm noticing a lot of similarities to how I think, which is very cool. But he does talk about Warren Buffett and his trade and how Warren Buffett was lucky. Just like a lot of people were lucky. Just like I'm lucky right now. Let's see. It's unlikely QQQ goes beyond 495 this week before it makes a deep pullback. Well, that's the cool part about QQQs is it really shows you that scenario well because it's within the monthly expected move. If you saw a flash sell move that got people real bearish right before data or something, and then you curl back up, oh my goodness, you would fill this gap and use that monthly as support and go into some great freaking liquidity in here. So a lot of trades taking place in there, right? So that's great. You'd go into a perfect resistance that's becoming support, losing it, becoming support, losing it, becoming support. This is a great level, 478.45. So I would really like to see us get there. And I think it's very possible now. Notice how it adapts, right? We get more price action. We start to understand a little bit. We look at how people are positioned and we start to rotate around. What did we say yesterday? Let's look what the calls look like around that weekly expected move. Look to your right, look at the PCC. Everyone is buying calls towards the weekly expected move, which means now they're thinking, there's no way this could turn down. Look how bullish that is. There's no way. And then it does aggressively, and they'll completely flip the script. We might even get a daily expected move down here. Maybe we do something like this. How would we break down? Well, we would break down by going and making maybe even an even low down in these areas where that wick was taking place. We'd come and break this for a moment. Then we see that turn back up, and then we reject back down. That's the worst case scenario, I think, for the SPY this week as far as bearishness goes. Before COVID, were we so data driven? No. No. You were not as reading to reading data driven. But we understand why. Inflation was something that was being fought. Inflation affects economies, right? So people are going to pay attention to data. And then people are going to pay attention to job data because the Fed says they're watching the job data. So then you're watching job data, you're watching for unemployment. I can tell you this, though. Just because people are paying more attention to data doesn't mean they're getting anything more right than they were before they were paying attention to data, just so you're aware. Just when you're not as data driven, usually that means you're in a bull run type of thing. People don't pay attention to it as much. And then you just go, okay, this is an easy market. Exactly, Suri. You're saying the quiet part out loud that's in my head. It's according to our monthly expected moves, the scenario, the bearish scenario to get to 550 happening this week, even into early next week, it's not really there, right? At least from this point. Now, maybe we see more price action and we can figure that out later on. You know, maybe the daily divergence gets created down there later. But as of right now, if the 30 minutes going to pull back from here, we're not going to squeeze. That's what I think is a risk at this moment as the PCC continues to go lower and lower. And remember this from the past too. Like people really didn't make those big bearish bets that we'd like them to make. They're still call side. So a flash move down, I think would still hurt people, weirdly enough. You wouldn't think so. So let's get a flash move down, get them to make some bearish bets for a while. I think the SPY will close the month. Let's say something crazy. I'll say something crazy. I think the SPY will close the month above 580. I'm not betting that way. I'm not putting money behind that. I'll put it behind it for a longer expiration because I think that I'm probably going to end up being a week off, but that'd be crazy. I just think if you can get this pullback now and then you squeeze for 2 days, you're really looking interesting. 580 is January low and a pivot point. Hey. So do I think we might take that back. Isn't that crazy? A gap here would be kind of insane, right? If we're able to hold up at these higher levels and we gap tomorrow, that'd be kind of insane. You'd get potentially 1, 2, and 3 days of squeezing. That'd just be a lot. What do you think is going to happen after April 2nd and the tariff rumors? I think I think the reduction, right, reducing, getting rid of QT is just going to be bullish. I think people are going to read it as bullish, if that's what you're asking. Tariffs, I think tariffs can always cause pullbacks, and I think this is the year of confusion, but I think tariff might subside for a bit. People have been, you know, it's kind of like people have been fed the same dish for so long now. Technically, since what? Like the beginning of the year, since he became president, like you've been fed this tariff dish so many times that I think people's taste are going to get a little bit desensitized to it. I think tariff will start to just like be like, oh, okay, it's just a thing that's going to happen, but it's really not causing too many problems. And then you'll see a moment where it might cause a problem, but I think people will ignore it a little bit and just celebrate the fact that we're going up. Yeah, see, Dave, that's what I'm talking about. I think people just kind of, just go, eh. I think they just go, okay, tariffs, but stocks are going up. And it looks like tariffs might be a good thing, right? They might even be convinced of that, which they are, but it's more of a longer term good thing, right? And it has to be proven, right? It has to be done the right way. We'll see if they pull it off. Will you short soon at the flag point? Nope. There is too much potential for this to squeeze as well. There's no reason for me to short here. I've taken my risk out. I am risking opportunity cost. I sold my Amazon. I sold my Meta. I sold my Amazon. This is where I had to make that decision. That is the decision that I have decided at this moment. Everyone makes their own decisions. You got to see what's best for you. For me, taking the nice trade. I want to make sure to have a nice trade going into the end of this month. Yeah, sorry, I think it could last till October. I think it could, Dave. That's definitely possible. I don't know if the call side would really look like this if we're going to continue to do it, but I think you're right. But you would need a moment where people get even more probably bearish than they are right now, right? Get that double dip into extreme fear, triple dip almost. Meta's getting dangerous here. Exactly. So now that we're looking at it, now that we're on Patreon and we are looking at those weekly expected moves and how a lot of stocks are back in their monthlies, but they can experience a dramatic pullback here and they could see a bigger pullback before Monday, right? It goes till Monday. We got to look at these things and be like, do I want to assume that risk? And that's not me trying to say, oh yeah, it's super risky and this and this and this. I'm like, it's your decision, right? You should know based on weekly expected moves and how we're behaving at the monthly, the risks of holding in this area and the risk of not holding in this area, and you should be weighing the pros and cons and making a decision for yourself, right? I think it's decision time potentially when we hit this purple line, and so are you prepared for it? That's all. Right. I'm telling you my decision right now. I blatantly just turned around. I sold everything. I sold all of my calls. I am opportunity costing this at the moment. I don't want to be up at this flag and then something random trashes me down, right? I am perfectly fine with seeing an upside move and then making a decision as well, right? What will happen is we will rally to around 50 DMA and start to pull back and everyone pile in shorts expecting a lower low, but we will instead rip higher. Yeah, I'm kind of looking at this. So I think you're in the scenario I'm really looking at, which is exactly how we behaved back in August. August, we moved up, almost made an equal high. That's why I'm pointing out I think 600 is a great level to watch here. 600 is a great level to get to. We go almost make that equal high, turn down. Notice that the low closes at the low of the bar. We see a move up, another spike down. So intra-week, we do see people get even more bearish, probably at this wick low, weirdly enough. And then you start to see that big boom to the upside. You make the reversal signal, and then that might be your top, right? That's how this thing could play out. And I think that's probably coming, but I'm still aware, like, hey, this could happen really quickly first. So that's all I'm talking about here. I'm willing to risk my opportunity cost at the moment for a pullback or something more dramatic. Your institution says not yet. I think it's because the upside potential feels a lot smaller than the downside risk. Hold on. Daily swing trade. I've been waiting for a swing trade. It depends on the time frame. Daily swing trade was on back in these areas too, especially if you're looking at shorter time frames. But daily swing trade was on yesterday for sure. Now you know there's a gap there, but if you're truly a swing trader and maybe even not even doing options, but if you're swing trading without options, I mean, I used to hold through all kinds of things like that before it saw the move. Right? It's a lot easier to hold when you're losing 2%, 1% if you need to manage or something. It's a lot easier to hold. March looking good to go long. Yeah, it looked good to go long down here. And then we managed risk, found the trades, got back in, boom, looked good to go long right there. There were still risks. That's the game you're playing, my friend. You are playing the risk to reward game at all times. 576.35. Yeah, yours might be tighter. We might have looked at IV at different times. That's why I have a specific time I like to look at them. So the one thing I would do, Noah, is understand that this still has squeeze potential. Okay? Did I say once that I'm going to short anything? What did I say? I'm opportunity costing the whole thing. I'm not shorting. I'm not calling from this point forward. I'm waiting to see if I'm right about a pullback. If I'm right about a pullback, I can get in. Right? I'm not talking about shorting that pullback. I never said that. Right? I'm not saying that. Shorting, when you have high potential for a short squeeze, is the exact bad thing to do, weirdly enough. Because all this thing has to do is gap up and squeeze, and all your money's gone the next day. You want to look at financials? Yeah, financials are in a risky spot too. They look more like 2-hour pullback, which makes sense when you think about JP Morgan. Where'd they pull back to? Hey, 49.50 looks pretty damn good. Maybe fill the gap down here around that 49.50. Looks good to me. 2-hour pullback. Could be a 30-minute pullback, right, if it's brief, but I think 2-hour pullback seems likely. Right? That would be the risky thing, right, is holding calls and seeing a big pullback. But I don't think it'll be too big. Calling it a day, back to work, not moving trades today. We'll manage if shit goes south, right? Thank you for shouting that out. Gotta have that plan for if it goes wrong. Wish you all the best. See you tomorrow. Thanks for showing up today, Siri. Appreciate you. AMC still looks good. It does. Yeah, you're hoping it stays good, right? This hasn't even curled over on the 30-minute. Very possible to. Very possible to. It's curled up on the 2-hour. It's curled up on the 30-minute. Curled up on the daily. And I want that daily to go positive. I think I misspoke at one point and said, oh, yeah, everything's positive. The daily's not positive, right? So the daily has to get to that positive territory for this to be really, really good. But a lot of the time it happens before. So 30-minute divergence is there. We'll see if it's able to produce. Actually, is it there? Let me double check on this thing. No. One slight here, but that's probably nothing to worry about just yet. You sell my puts. Are you going to be the next Willow? 188 viewers, 49 likes. Give this man some love, folks. Hey, I appreciate that, Arobi. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, people on Rumble, there's only like 80 people in there yesterday, and they still racked up them likes. They did a good job. Thank you guys for doing that. Appreciate you guys. No, Tom, waiting for your puts to print so I can get into a position. I'm just saying there is the risk that I'm assuming. I want you to understand if you're making even similar moves to me, like saying, "Hey, yeah, I don't want to assume the risk anymore right now. I think something's weird is happening here." Hey, if you're thinking that, that's fine. Just make sure you're like, okay, you have to understand that a squeeze could happen. You could miss out, right? This is a very serious decision, but I like the trade setup and I like the amount of money. And I go, hey, 120% across the board. Like, yeah, I'll take that. What if we never pull back and return? Well, then it squeezes higher and you miss out. That's the risk that I'm taking at this point. That's the decision I just made. If you sell your positions for a profit and then something squeezes, then what happens? The stock went up and you weren't in it. That's it. It started to squeeze and you knew the risk and you'd made a decision, right? That's I have to live with that. So I already know I'm perfectly happy living with that. I like to trade quicker over the last like year and a half, 2 years, really. Actually, since the bear market, I've really been trading pretty quick, except for that one run. But other than that, actually, that ABC run was pretty good, weekly pullback. But other than that, it was like trading quick all the time. 2024 was very much so that kind of game for me. I just felt we were not at certain times you could hold longer, but it was just like at certain times, man, you had perfect reversal signals. It was crazy. What Bitcoin's looking like too. Hey, Bitcoin's still doing the thing. A lot of wicks at these levels. Yeah, NatS, that's kind of the situation. Locking in profits is, in my mind, not ever a bad thing, right? Pushing the portfolio forward, pushing the numbers up. That's it. Even if it's a little bit. That was a little bit more than a little bit. So that's why we did that decision, right? That's why I made it. But I don't want people on YouTube thinking that I wasn't making a move, right? I don't want people thinking, oh, yeah, I just held through the squeeze and I could lie to you guys and say, oh, yeah, I'm holding through the thing. I made so much money. Or I could tell you what I'm actually doing and be like, yeah, I understand the risk here. And I'm more so inclined to pay attention to the risk right now than the reward for a split moment. 220 next month. Is that crazy? Well, for Amazon, I mean, ultimately, my assessment is 2 months just to be safe with the daily divergence that can be created. This can take a lot of time. I do think that 213, if you get above that, most likely you will get to that 220 area, this area right here. I would say that's very plausible. I would say in the next month. I would say if we would give ourselves more time, we are more likely to be right because this could end up going all the way like this, go all the way like this, then go all the way like this before it gets there, right? Use earnings as a reason. It could literally do all of that. Now, I don't think that's what's going to take place. I think we could see a minor pullback to just go bink into this zone, retest that 5, retest the 9, and then I think we see this launch up to here. And if we can break through that and use that as support, I think we could potentially continue that run. So we'll be watching for it. We still have to watch out for lower highs, though, for a lot of these stocks. Even the SPY, we have to be watching out for lower high. We're talking about, as of right now, this getting a lower high and then getting a higher low, weirdly enough. So I think Amazon will end up getting a higher low, and then you have a good chance over the next month, I would say, to easily hit that. Yeah, I want to give myself plenty of time, right? We kind of talked about that on the live show yesterday. If I only give myself 2 weeks and say this move has to happen, am I going to be pissed off? Do I have enough money to do it to where it's a month? That way I give myself the extra couple of weeks. Do I have that money to make sure maybe it's 2 months and maybe I make a little bit less, but I'm actually right? So yeah, is my trade value going to be fine, and can I afford to only afford this and keep it really tight and it has to get there in that time frame, or would I rather spend the money to be able to be like, okay, it has to get it right from here, and then we see it just go this way and we go, okay, goal accomplished, right? Because originally it could do this, right? Uh then it gets there. It could take a lot of time. You're right on the DAX. We haven't looked at the DAX today. Oh, DAX. All right, so there you go. Starting to see that 30-minute curl down. I still think it has that potential, but really, if this 2-hour curls down, I think that's a big problem. Yeah, 2-hour curls back down from there, more so signal like, yeah, we're going to go test these lower levels. As of right now, the 2 hours trying to go positive, so we'll see. But look at the buyings, pretty lackluster. I mean, you're just going, okay, pretty controlled. If that crosses down, bad things. Watch for gap fill, right? We'll see if that takes place. It would need to see a sporadic upward move to get rid of that. And then that would be more so, hey, can the daily cross up? And I just think that's way less likely to happen. But is the DAX going to turn down all of a sudden because that's money coming out of there and going into the US, right? Is there going to be a big announcement with maybe a big car company producing manufacturing here? That would be very cool. Dividing days to expiration. Full year, 365. Dubs. I use 365 all the time. I mean, cool. I mean, mainly to me, it's just, I'd have to look further into Lyft from the business side of things because I think like Uber and Lyft have had a hard time making money over the years. We'll have to see. But more and more people are using it. I'm surprised. Like my sister-in-law uses it like every other day. I'm just like, she does Uber Eats and stuff like that or whatever. But market days, excluding the weekend, trading sessions too. Yeah, so the IV, when you look it up, it might say 6 days, but that IV most likely won't change much over the weekend unless you're GME or something like some funky stuff happening there once. But um, yeah, usually by Sunday it'll say, hey, 5 days to expiration or something like that, or you can count out the days on the calendar real quick. It's just trading days. So on shortened trading weeks, you do want to change that to 4. So say if you don't have a trading session on Monday and you're getting that IV on Sunday trying to make those ranges, you still want to use 4 instead of 5 because technically you only have 4 trading sessions. Yeah, 2 hours after close is pretty good. And then what you want to really look for is just how many actual trading sessions before I get to that point. Double check my math for you. That should be this number. Yeah, so usually for the monthly, you have like 26 or something like that. That I can kind of, the monthly you can give some wiggle room to. You're not too worried about it. Usually you can give that some wiggle room because it's usually a general area. Weekly wise, it's always going to be 5, 4, 3, right? And then daily wise, obviously, is always going to be 1. It's not like a half day. You don't measure that as 0.5 or something like that, just so you're aware. But yeah, the more the days to expiration changes on the weekly, it will slightly change on the monthly, but you know, being off by a day or two is not going to affect it as much as you think. Like that's why I treat them as almost like little zones, right? Little zones. We just draw them up as lines, right? And it's cool because when you draw them up as lines, you see, okay, well, did the math right. Why did I just buy a call? I don't want to do that. Ah, and that's how you get lucky, right, Tyler? Your buddy who buys lottery tickets for years and years and years finally buys you one to show you what it's all about, and then you win. At 15.85%, IV on 564 strike this Friday for the nearest strike. When did you calculated Sunday? And are you doing weekly or daily? Yeah, you calculated on Friday, 2 hours after close, 5-day expiration implemented for the weekly, 564 strike. What was the open? Sorry, Friday. Friday close was that's 564.17. The problem might have been 564.17. The further out strike. You even though you might see stuff in the post market, I still take the 565 strike. So I always take the one just above, not the one right on. I always take whatever the price is above, 564.17. Okay, I take 565. As far as IV, we might have pulled it from two different places. For the weekly implied volatility right now, I have about 20%. Well, not right. It might have changed by now, but at the beginning of the week, 20%. I don't know, Fridays as well. I like to do it on Sunday morning, just in case any funkiness does happen, and it gives me some time just to relax and not look at stocks for a while. Yeah, so I've always utilized TradingView closing price for everything. So these are little micro things that can change that number a little bit. And you notice how much it could take, how much time it could take to see if it's actually getting exactly right. This is kind of what the Patreon's for, right? This kind of thing you're trying to do. It's great. I love it. And keep playing with it because you'll get it. Dubs, you will get it. Eventually, you'll get it and you'll start to realize it over time, but it does take time for you to see. Take a small gold put position expiring Friday. Trying to get that lucky, huh, Dave? Just note that the month doesn't end on Friday. The month ends on Monday. VIX not really dropping. I haven't really been paying attention to that too much over here. Amazon looking real wavy now. Joe Jax, what up? Oh, we didn't see you all last week. We were over on Rumble all day last week. All day, every day last week. Joe Jax didn't want to come say hi. That's fucked up, dude. That's messed up. VIX, that's what I was going to check on real quick. Yeah, slight reaction from volatility for the 30 minutes. Still can drop lower, right? 1683 is where I really want to watch, but I'm just going to be aware if the 2-hour picks up for any reason here. A lot of calls have trickled in there throughout the morning. No, Jonna, I made the hard decision. I said, I like to leave runners a lot of the time. I like the trades across the board. I think this would be the time where we have risk of a 30-minute to 2-hour pullback here. If we're going to see a dramatic drop, I think it would happen now. This isn't to get anyone bearish or help make a decision, really. It's just to say my thinking in this area. We're approaching a weekly expected move. Meta has seen a move outside of it. Amazon has seen a move outside of it. Tesla is outside of it. JP Morgan is screaming higher, needing a 2-hour pullback outside of it. There's just a lot of things that are saying this is early on in the week. If the pullback would happen, it would happen in the next 1 to 2 trading sessions here. So I decided to take my complete risk out. I am instead assuming the risk of opportunity cost. Just so you get the full explanation there, Jonna. I want you to get the mentality of why. So am I going to be slightly bummed out if we gap up and we keep going throughout the next 3 days? Yes. That is the risk I am assuming. But if this pulls back or sees a dramatic drop, I'll be going, thank you. Will you short it if you see divergence at the top? No. I still think there is high potential of a short squeeze. If I buy a short while I'm thinking there could be high potential of a short squeeze, that's very hypocritical. It's very ironic. Because if I would short and then it would squeeze after I said this has high potential to short squeeze, that's pretty much embarrassing at that point. I like the money. I mean, I was able to make 120, 115 to 120% across the board. So I'm like, okay, that's good enough for me for now. I'm going to pay attention to risk for a moment in case we flash down to that 550. But other than that, I'm really thinking just a 30-minute pullback happens. So the thing I'm mainly paying attention to is, do we get a 30-minute pullback? The thing is, it's do people buy calls towards this weekly expected move or short positions? Right now, they are buying calls, which means a pullback here would actually hurt some people. Yeah. So now I'm thinking, hey, we either flash down 565, that would be interesting, but really it's just anytime this happens now. Anytime I get this to curl down and curl back up, I'll probably be back in the play and be willing to hold for the next big upward move, targeting another month out. So now I get to reposition as well, and I can potentially buy another week's time without risking more money. Hey, that's great, William. We like to see that. Was your volatility just a short there? It's seeing some little reactions up. It does have a 30-minute like very weak divergence, so that's why I think pullback seems very likely. It'd be kind of crazy just to burst up all of a sudden. But that's the squeeze, right? Like that's what I'm betting doesn't happen. But I'm not betting in the form of money. I'm betting in the form of opportunity cost. I'm willing to miss out on a squeeze to make sure I make money in the first part of this move while pullback seems very likely. Very nice. Very nice. All right, guys, I do have to hop off here for the day, but remember to click the link down in the description to join us for Rumble. We are doing the closing streams, the power hour streams, when 40% of the money comes in is at the end of the day. So we're doing live streams over on Rumble every single day from here on out. We will have the live stream on YouTube in the morning. We will have the YouTube videos at night, but we will have an extra thing for you out there if you just want to go click that link in the description and join us for some power hour streams later on in the day. What are your thoughts on potential XLF head and shoulders? XLF looks like 2-hour pullback, looks like the most likely scenario at this moment from what I see. It's squeezing right now. XLF, JP Morgan, those things are already experiencing a squeeze. That's what it seems like to me. You're seeing, but those are the charts that are telling us things are getting a little bit too quick here. Things are getting a little bit too quick. So let's see if those pull back on the 2-hour, and maybe we see the SPY pull back on the 30-minute or 2-hour here. That would be interesting. So that's the risk I'm assuming. Rust, if you want to come over to Rumble, the link's down in the description later today. You can ask way more questions and we'll talk about it later. All right, buddy? But I got to head out. So thank you guys so much. I hope you guys do have a great trading session. If you would like to join us later, I welcome you with open arms. All right? Peace out. Manage that risk. All right? Keep it in your mind. Keep it in your mind, make your own decisions, but always think about, hey, what if that decision does go wrong? Am I going to be okay? What's going to be my reaction, all right? That's the best way to do it. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Peace out.